At the start of the story, we see a classroom where a boy named Jim is being severely beaten by his teacher, but just then the bell rings, ending the class. Afterward, Jim leaves with his three best friends, Pedro, Mickey, and Neutron. They all smoke, cause trouble, and never think twice before acting. They even pour paint thinner onto a cloth and inhale it to get high. But Jim has a special talent. He is an excellent basketball player. His school team plays a game against another school, and Jim performs brilliantly, leading them to victory. However, during the game, one of Jim's friends sneaks into the locker room and steals all the money, watches, and important belongings of the opposing team's players. Later, while the four of them are sitting at a restaurant, the other team members show up and tell them to come outside. They accuse them of stealing their things and demand they return them quietly. But Jim and his friends deny the accusations, leading to a huge fight between the two groups. Jim and his friends, however, beat them up and flee. That night, while they are hanging out, a girl approaches them, completely high, asking for $50 and offering herself in return, because she needs money to buy more drugs. But Jim scoffs at her and chases her away. Afterward, Jim goes to a hospital where he meets Bobby, someone he has known since he was 3 years old. Bobby used to be the best basketball player on their team, but 2 years ago, he found out he had leukemia. Jim is sure that Bobby will fight to survive and genuinely wishes it from the bottom of his heart, because Bobby is the closest friend he has in the world. Jim takes him to a strip show where women take off their clothes to perform. But Bobby doesn't enjoy it, so Jim brings him back to the hospital. Besides basketball, there is another thing in Jim's life, his writing. Whenever he has time or a thought comes to mind, he writes it down in his notebook. But Jim spends nearly all his time with his three friends, always having fun, even visiting prostitutes. One prostitute even gives him drugs, which he takes, and after sleeping with her, he also writes that experience in his notebook. A few days later, Bobby passes away, and when Jim goes to see him, his body has become skeletal. Despite being only 16 years old, he now looks like he is 60. This completely shatters Jim. One day, while returning from a movie with his friends, he realizes he doesn't even remember the scenes or the story. While Bobby's death doesn't seem to affect his three friends much, Jim is deeply hurt. He goes to a basement where people inject drugs. Although Jim has always been terrified of needles, he uses it for the first time in his life. The moment he does, all his pain disappears. He feels like he is running through fields of flowers, and everything around him seems beautiful. When Jim gets home, his mother sees the state he is in and is deeply hurt. She works in a hospital and tries to understand him, but Jim tells her she knows nothing. Slowly, Jim and his friends become addicted to the drug, but it's expensive and they need money. One night, the four of them mug an elderly woman walking down a dark street, even beating her before running off with her purse. The next day, when they attend the mandatory school church service, Jim says he won't go to confession. The priest asks him why, and Jim responds that he simply doesn't feel like it. The priest tells him that perhaps he is the one who needs confession the most. Jim then enters the confessional, a place where a person can talk to the priest knowing it will never be shared. Jim wants to tell him everything about the drugs, but he can't.
He wants to quit it, yet every time he promises himself this is the last time, that last time never comes. Because even if a person wants to leave drugs, drugs never want to leave the person. One day, while Jim is using drugs in the school bathroom, his coach walks in. Jim hides his pills, but the coach seems to notice something and tries to give Jim money in exchange for sexual favors. The coach offers him money again, asking him not to tell anyone, and Jim takes the money but warns him never to say or try anything like that again. The coach leaves, but now he also knows that Jim is using drugs. Now their basketball game takes place, and before it starts, they open their lockers and take out drug pills. By now, they are using all kinds of drugs. Just then, their fourth friend, Neutron, arrives and warns them not to take pills before the game. But, except for Neutron, the other three do take them. When the game begins, Jim and his other friend who took the pills perform terribly. They can't even see the ball clearly and lose the game miserably. The school priest arrives with the police, already knowing they use drugs, and they search their lockers but find nothing because they had already taken everything. Jim and his two friends leave the school, while Neutron stays behind because he doesn't want to follow them. When Jim gets home, his mother asks him why he was expelled. He claims it's a conspiracy against them and that they never took pills. and she tells him to leave the house. As he walks away, his mother throws his basketball trophy, his symbol of success, out the window. Jim tells her he will never come back and she will never see him again. His mother, loving him deeply, begs him not to say that because she doesn't want him to ruin his life. But in front of Jim lies his broken dream, shattered in the form of that trophy. But now Jim and his friends need money for drugs, so they start stealing cars. They live with people who are also addicts, completely sinking into the world of drugs. For them, this is the only real world, nothing outside of it matters. Slowly, their habits worsen. They even go to rob a store. But Pedro is so high he starts hallucinating, thinking he is in an ice cream parlor. Jim and Mickey have no choice but to leave him there, and the police arrest Pedro. Later, Jim and Mickey go to a bar where the TV shows news about Neutron, whom they used to play basketball with, now selected for the All-American High School, making his families proud. He even waves to his mother on TV. This was once Jim and Mickey's dream too, and they could have been on that team. After this, Jim walks up to his house and secretly watches his mother carrying things inside. But he doesn't have the courage to talk to her. He walks back to the place where he uses drugs. There, a guy suddenly attacks him because Jim had given this man's girlfriend a strong drug that almost killed her. Now Jim's mind completely stops working. He begins to have intense hallucinations. He sees himself playing basketball, then being shot, then seeing the basketball hoop on fire, and he even notices he is wearing his basketball uniform. But it's all just an illusion. He is lying nearly dead on the snow in the freezing cold when a man walks up. It is Reggie. Before Jim used drugs, he used to practice basketball with Reggie, who knows Jim is a very talented player. Seeing him in such a state, Reggie picks him up and takes him to his house. The next morning, when Jim wakes up, he puts on his clothes to leave, but when he checks his pocket, his drugs are not there.
Where is it?
What?
You know what the fuck I'm talking about, Reggie. Where is it?
But Reggie says no, he will not allow Jim to destroy his life, and he flushes the drugs down the toilet right in front of him. This sends Jim into a complete frenzy, screaming that Reggie must give him the money for the drugs back because he cannot live without them now. But Reggie, stronger than this addict, completely controls the situation. When Jim asks why he is doing this, Reggie says it's because someone once helped him too, and he has been grateful ever since. Jim begs him over and over, but Reggie doesn't give in. Jim says the room is spinning, but Reggie just sits outside the door, not letting him leave, keeping him there. When Jim calms down a little, Reggie tells him he has to go to work and will return in the morning and that Jim must control himself. He also says, when you write your book, mention my name, because Jim is always writing, and his diary is still in his pocket, which Reggie has read. Then Reggie leaves. Jim tries to control himself, but soon the spinning starts again. He looks for money in the house but finds nothing, so he goes to see a girl named Diane. There was a time when Diane once asked Jim and his friends for money to buy drugs when they themselves weren't using, and Jim had mocked her for it. Now Jim finds himself in the exact spot Diane was, begging her for money. Diane doesn't want to give it to him, but he practically pleads with her, so she pulls money out of her purse and throws it on the floor like someone would to a beggar. In anger, Jim shouts at her, calling her a prostitute. But once she is gone, he picks up the money because he has reached a point in life where dignity and respect no longer matter. But the money is not enough to buy drugs, so Jim does something he never thought he would do. He prostitutes himself to an old man in a public bathroom just to get the money for drugs. With the money in hand, he goes to his friend Mickey, and together they visit a drug dealer who sells them drugs. But when they try it, they realize it is fake. They chase the dealer onto a rooftop, demanding their money back. When Mickey grabs him, the man slips and falls off the roof, dying. Mickey runs, but when he reaches the street, a gang catches him, beats him brutally, and the police arrest him. Jim then heads home, but even after everything, he still wants drugs. He begs his mother for $20, saying he really needs it and that he is her son. His mother refuses to let him in because she knows he will use it for drugs. Although she loves him deeply, she calls the police, believing that if he stays outside, he will continue using, and perhaps prison will help him change. The police take him away. Jim realizes his mistakes and tells his mother he will change and be like he was before, but she cannot help him now. For all his crimes, Jim is sentenced to 6 months in jail.
During those months, he finishes writing his diary. When he is released, he stands outside a stage door because today he is going to read his diary in front of an audience. There he meets his friend Pedro, the one who was arrested first. Pedro tells him he has some really good drugs and offers them to him, but Jim refuses. He cannot go back to that life and tells Pedro to take care of himself. Then Jim walks onto the stage and reads his diary to the crowd, and they love it, applauding loudly. In the end, we are told that Jim finished his diary, the Basketball Diaries, at the age of 17, and it became very famous. By the time he was 22, he had published 3 volumes of poetry, recorded 4 albums, and continued to live in New York City, working as a poet, musician, novelist, and performer until 2009. He then died on September 11, 2009.